Here's Ronda Rousey, you know, a woman who has built her own empire. I mean, you talk about empowerment.
Yeah.
Just by being who she is, by the way. There's nothing false about her. She is who she is. She speaks her mind. She stays true to herself. You know, she's a shining example for girls everywhere, for boys, I mean, for everyone.
Yep.
She really is.
Yes.
And she's signing with WWE. She's taking a transition into a world she's never been a part of. And she is going to have her first ever match ever at WrestleMania, our biggest platform, our Super Bowl.
Big.
Can you imagine the pressure?
Yeah, no.
Look what but she thrives on it though. She thrives on pressure. You know, I think she's at her best when she's under pressure. And she just trained and trained and trained and trained, and so did I, because I mean, like, okay, I'm, you know, 41-year-old mom, like I work out all the time, but come on.
You do work out
I'm
all the
not
time.
in the same league as Ronda Rousey.
One of maybe the greatest female athlete the last decade. One of her and Serena and a couple others,
absolutely,
right?
absolutely, hands down. So I have to at least get in good enough shape to give her a good show. You know what I mean? Like I had to, you know, and I was there. I was there.
That's pressure on you, girl.
It was a lot of pressure on me, because that was the story, right?
Yeah.
And that's where, going back to the villain, ultimately, I helped kick off her WWE career.
Do you guys call that heat? Is that what that's called? What do you call that?
Yeah, it's when you're a bad guy. Yeah, it's heat.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a lot of heat.
That's fascinating.
Yep.
You've been a part of so many cool things. Like, what a life.
I'm really blessed.
You are blessed.
I am so grateful for my life in so many ways.
Talk about your life for a second. So because everyone's watching this, that they know about you, but there's the you. That's the character. Then there's the you. So I'm curious, because people watch this navigate life too. So you are a mom.
I am.
You have 3 young daughters, right? And you're a businesswoman, and you're a character on the show. How do you have strategies you use to navigate all of this stuff? Plus, we're in California now, but I know you're back east too. So there's just what I call a big life, right?
It's a big life.
So how do you navigate all of that?
You know, it's challenging, right? But I think it is for anybody. You know, I think it is for women who, you know, stay at home, or dads that stay at home. When you couple that with traveling and that kind of thing, maybe that's what makes it different. But life is hard for everybody, right? And different aspects. And I think the best strategy really is to prioritize, right? Because my mom taught me a long time ago that pendulum is never going to be in the middle.
I agree with that.
It's always swinging.
Yes.
So it's not a balance as you would think. It is a balance in essence, but it's always shifting.
It's never balanced.
It's never balanced. It's never even. And I just do everything I can, me and my husband both do, to maximize our time with our kids, to prioritize each other as well. We went on a date the other night, and unfortunately it was like the first date night we've had in 4 months.
Oh boy.
Since before the holidays.
Wow.
So it was
special night, but too infrequent.
4 months. Yeah. Which we need to do a better job of that. But you know, being there for our kids, putting them down at night, taking them to school in the morning. Taking them to school is one of my favorite things to do. The only thing that tops it is picking them up from school.
Seriously? Wow.
Yeah, and sometimes I'll leave work just to go pick them up.
Just for that experience?
Just for that. And they love it.
You're kind of a badass though, like you're downplaying you. Like I'm watching your social media, you're working at like midnight. So,
that's the only time we have to train. People often ask, like, is there some type of biological, you know, like, no, there's no advantage. I don't recommend it. Sleep is important.
But that's crazy. Like, you're so humble. It's striking because it's totally different than your character, right? But like, guys, just so you know, this woman is crazy. We're talking about
crazy alone.
We're talking about. I mean, a totally devoted mother. You can hear how much she talks about her husband, so you're getting a sense of the relationship there. This massive enterprise of WWE, and then fitness, right? Because she's a character on the show too. And I'm telling you, if you go to her Instagram, you're going to see midnight workouts. And so,
but even if I wasn't a character, I'd train at midnight.
Why?
Because it's a part of what makes me me. I feel good about myself when I train. I think that the more in shape you are, the more you can do.
So do I.
Just in general, I think it clears your mind. Training is my church, you know. And I think also this is just, I don't know, I think human nature. I think it is important to accomplish goals.
So do I.
Right? I think you feel good about yourself. It builds confidence when you set goals and you can achieve them. And even though it's You know, it's a set, it's a rep, it's whatever it is, whatever that goal is that night, no matter how simple it might be, I'm killing my goals.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And pushing myself past where I think I can go. And I love that. Training is as much a mental challenge as it is a physical one.
Totally agree with
You know, and I love that feeling.
I love this interview. I'm serious.
It's hot under this light.
It is. I know. I'm gonna make you sweat a little bit more. But like, there's all
my
of
microphone,
these.
sorry.
There's all of these points, though, guys. In one interview, we've covered, you know, this great American business story. We've covered branding. We've covered marketing. We've covered there's really no balance, but you seek balance. And then we've talked about fitness and the storylines and the respect for culture. There's a lot here today, right, for you all to be taking notes and hear this a couple more times. But there's this other element of you that I love because it's a big part of my life too, which is that it's probably the part of my life, other than my family, is the fact that like I want to pay forward all these blessings that have come my way. I have a blessed life too, totally different life than yours, but a blessed life. And so, you know, Stephanie's had all kinds of different awards for philanthropic stuff that you won't get her to talk about. But like, there's the Stuart Scott Award, the humanitarian awards, all these different things. And there's all the work you've done. But this thing that you've done with Connor's Cure, and there's the little boy, everybody, and I want to make sure I say Connor's name right because I knew about this before I met you. I remember this, but Connor Mihalik.
Mihalik, yeah.
And Connor was a little boy suffering from a very unique type of tumor, but he ended up passing away from brain cancer. Prior to that time, his hero was Brian.
Daniel Bryan.
Daniel Bryan. I'm thinking.
Brian Danielson, yeah.
I know Brian the other way, right?
Yeah.
But Daniel Bryan, the character of Daniel Bryan. And it became something that just got into the hearts of WWE universe, not just you and your husband, but you and your husband then did something about it. And so can you talk about that little boy and how precious that cause is to you?
Yes. So I met Connor backstage after the Royal Rumble, which is one of our big pay-per-views in Pittsburgh. And one of our referees, Justin Roberts, introduced him to me. And I saw him, and I could tell he was sick from his physical appearance because he had a scar up the back of his head. He was bald. He had a big lump up here. But he was talking to Batista when I walked over and I met him. And Justin said, Connor, I'd like to introduce you to my friend Stephanie McMahon. And he looked up at me and he started telling me about the shirt he was wearing, which was Sheamus's shirt. Sheamus, who's like 6'5", 300 pounds, had come back from the ring and given Connor his shirt. So the shirt was dragging on the floor. Okay. And he starts to tell me, very excited, that this was his Sheamus shirt. And underneath that shirt, he had his Skylander shirt on. And underneath that shirt, he was wearing Daniel Bryan's t-shirt and how proud he was. And I thought, oh my goodness, you're the cutest little thing I've ever seen. He was so vivacious, and he was the same age as my oldest daughter. And I just fell in love with him. And I asked him for a hug. Okay. And he said, oh no, I can't do that. And I said, oh, why? And he said, well, because I give choke out hugs. And I don't want to choke you out. And I was like, try me, buddy. And he came over and gave me like the most wonderful hug. And then as I was standing up, his dad leaned down, and I can't help but cry every time because I just remember it so vividly. And he said, you know, we'd like to come back when you guys are in Pittsburgh in June, but Connor's probably not going to make it till then. And I couldn't believe he was that sick just because of his life force, you know? I mean, he looked sick, but he didn't act sick. And then I started just watching him. He's shadow boxing, and he's having a great time. And I went to say goodbye, and I gave him a kiss on the cheek, and it startled him a little bit. And I'll never forget how soft his little cheek was. And then he looked at me, and we said goodbye, and he started to walk away. And then he looked back at me, and I swear, this is going to sound crazy, but I swear our souls touched in that moment.
That sounds crazy. And
I just feel like it all happened for a reason. And that night, we were on our bus, my husband and I couldn't sleep because I was thinking, like, what can we do for this little boy? And there are a lot of kids like Connor. But what can we do for him? How can we help him? How can we help him hang on? And we came up with the idea to invite him to WrestleMania. So we did, and we did that all through Justin. And the doctors had said, I didn't know any of this, the doctors had said Connor would never make it, that he would never make the trip from Pittsburgh to New Orleans. And if he did, it would really be hard on him, that he wouldn't be himself. They said they really recommended against it. So we brought him to this event in Washington, D.C. ahead of WrestleMania, and he wasn't doing very well. And at that time, he made, for me and a few other people, these necklaces that took him 8 hours to make. They were very similar to these bracelets. They had round beads, and they had square beads, and they all had different messages. He did all of that. Because of his surgeries, his small motor coordination was off. But he did that. And he came in, and we gave him a full entrance. He came out with Daniel Bryan to Daniel Bryan's music. He came down the ramp. This is during the day. All of the superstars were surrounding the ring. My husband was in the ring. He jumps off headset. My husband gets into the ring, and he says, "Come on, Connor, hit me. Hit me here." And Connor's like, "I'm not going to hit you. I'm not going to do that." And he goes, "Come on." And Connor hauls off and gives him a little punch, and my husband goes down. And a referee who was standing on the side, Mike Chioda, dives in the ring, and he counts 1, 2, 3. And everybody cheers, and they go nuts. And Connor said to my husband, "I gotcha." Isn't that so cute?
So cute.
So fast forward to WrestleMania, he made it. And not only did he make it, his dad told me he was able to feed himself. He was himself again. And this little boy had had cancer since he was 4. And he said, Steve said, that's Connor's dad, he said it was like I had my little boy back. And after Daniel Bryan won the championship that night, Daniel Bryan was the whole story of WrestleMania that year. And he had overcome the authority after a storyline, after 6 months of oppression, and ultimately he defeated Triple H, ironically, and then went on in a triple threat match against Batista and Randy Orton to win the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. And he got out of the ring, and the first person he went over to was Connor. And he said, "You helped me win this. You keep fighting."
Oh my gosh.
And Connor died in his dad's arms a couple weeks after that. And again, I was struck with, what can we do? How can we help? And that's when we decided to start Connor's Cure. And it started off as a fund with Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh, because that's where Connor was treated. And just to tell you a lighthearted story about Connor, his favorite nurse's name was Stacy. And when she would come in to give him his chemo, he would boo her. Like, isn't that great? This little kid just booing her. It just called everything out for what it was, right? Made her laugh, made him laugh. Like, it sucked, right? There was no getting around it, and he just called it out for what it was. But so that's how we started Connor's Cure. And then, to your point, because he was a WWE fan, because there was just something so special about him, I truly do believe he came to WWE for a reason. That we could help. And we've now partnered with V Foundation, and we've raised over $2 million. We've helped over 200 families with things like parking vouchers, food vouchers, things you don't anticipate you're going to need, because children should not get cancer. They should not be sick with cancer. Anyway, that's my story.
It's a wonderful
that's
story.
Connor's story.
Thank you for being willing to tell everybody about Connor the
course.
Crusher, by the way.
I'll talk about Connor the Crusher all day long.
Crusher, and
I love that little boy, and so do so many people. And hopefully we'll be able to make a difference. And I'm actually, this is a very premature kind of thing, but I'm a Henry Crown Fellow with the Aspen Institute. I'm right in the middle of my seminars. And part of what you have to do when you're a Henry Crown Fellow is start a venture. And my venture is around pediatric cancer, and it's bringing together, I want to disrupt what's happening. I want to get people out of their silos and get people thinking differently, because only 4% of dollars allocated by the government for cancer goes to pediatrics. 4%.
Is that right?
4.
It's horrible.
There have only been 10 drugs in the past 40 years that have been approved and developed for kids with cancer. They are given adult doses. They are given the same, and because of that, it's just over 90% of kids who do survive cancer in 30 years will develop some other type of disease because of the treatments that they're given.
Wow.
And everyone's trying, right? Everyone's working on it. But what can we do differently?
Yeah.
How can we incentivize pharma,
Yeah.
you know, to look at their models, to create these drugs that these kids need?
Right.
You know, how can we leverage biotech?
Yeah.
You know, how can we look at all of these different things? And by the way, if you solve cancer for kids, that applies to the entire population. We look at it backwards because more of the adult population is affected than kids. So that's where the dollars go, right? It shouldn't go there. It should go to kids who have their whole lives in front of them. You know, so there's nothing formal to announce yet,
Okay.
you know, but we're in our initial stages, and I have my first meeting
Wonderful.
bringing together experts in all of these different fields at the end of June.
Wonderful.
So
Thank you. God
there's
bless
more to
you.
come on that,
Good.
but
God bless you and Paul.
I
for
might
doing
tag you
this.
in, you know, to see if you can help in some way.
I want to tell you that. So I want
Yeah.
to say that, and I want to say that to everybody watching too. I want to know how I can help you, and so please ask me.
Okay, I will.
Too.
I will.
And our audience too, as well, and you WWE fans that are watching this as well. I know you're aware of Connor's story, and he's such a beautiful young man. That the thing that you'll see in Connor when you go to the site too is the passion this little boy had that you brought to life here. And
For life.
Yeah, it
He
was,
had a passion for life.
so, but I want to just tell you, I think it's so wonderful that you're honoring his life by doing this.
That's what we're trying to do.
And you are.
know?
And so, by the way, is there a place they can go to get more information on Connor's
Yeah,
care,
sure.
too?
I mean, it's ConnorTheCrusher.org. You could go to V Foundation. You could just Google Connor the Crusher.
Such a wonderful story.
Oh, and the bracelets. Thank you, Kristen.
Yeah, such a wonderful story.
All of the proceeds of bracelets, these bracelets that are purchased, go directly to Connor's Cure. And the thing that I love about V Foundation is every single dollar goes to research.
Yeah.
They have a separate endowment fund. So all of the money that you give goes directly to research. It doesn't go to salaries
Right.
or overhead or any of that kind of stuff.
Right. We call that a pure foundation, everybody. The money goes purely to the cause. And so it's not very common and special. So that is an important thing that we're pointing out here. Thank you so much for doing that, and I do want to help you any way that I can. So this has been, I'm speechless to some extent because of just the breadth of what we covered.
But and let me just say, right, like,
Yeah.
so WWE does do a lot of philanthropic work.
I know. Yeah. Go ahead.
But the reason is because that's just, I think it's a privilege. We reach so many people. You know, we're in 180 countries and 25 different languages. You know, across all different platforms. We have nearly 1 billion social media followers. We have this huge universe, right?
Yeah.
This huge audience. And I think it is so important to do everything you can to give back. And I just think it's what life is really all about.
Right.
I really do.
Yep.
It's like you with this podcast, right? It's
right.
about helping other people.
Right.
There's no, you know, financial incentive to you. It's
Right.
about helping other people, helping
Right.
your audience, and
Yeah.
giving them tools, you
Yeah.
know, to be successful. I think that that's what life is all about. We're here to help each other.
So do I.
And WWE's mission is to put smiles on faces.
Hmm.
Simple. You know, whether we do that through our entertainment or we do it by giving back. And you think about, you know, Connor, and, you know, I've said many times, even if for those few hours he forgot that he was sick and forgot about his treatment or what he was going through. And his dad told me, Steph, it lasts a lot longer than that.
That's so special.
Right, but what a privilege it is
Yeah.
to be a part of a company that can do that.
Yeah.
It is a privilege.
And in small and big ways, you guys do that all the time. There are people that just come home from work and they're just not happy in their life,
Right.
and it's an escape for an hour
It
or two
is.
for them. And I just think it's wonderful. You know, I knew a lot about you because we do have some mutual friends, and I read about you. But meeting you is so much more impressive and inspiring too. So. I had a lot of people knew you were coming on, and we're running out of time too. Unfortunately,
are?
This flew by. You said you were hot, so I'm giving you a break. but
No.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. But a lot of the ladies knew you were coming on, and there was some excitement about you coming on the program. And I'm a man, and you're inspiring me, so I don't think this is gender specific by any means. However, whether you admit it or not, you are one of the more prominent female businesswomen in the country, and the reach of what your business and brand does reaches millions of people, as you've said, around the world, and has reached billions of people in its totality, if you added up the collective reach. And so you got 3 little girls.
I do.
You're a girl. We've talked about your mom. We've talked about your grandmother. And there's just women watching this, young women that are watching this. They've got dreams and hopes and ambitions. And I'm wondering, if you were speaking right to them, what would you tell them about? They got to
dream in their heart they want to chase too, these ladies that are out there. And men, you're allowed to listen in on this because all of it's going to apply to you too. But to these young women out there, what would you say to them if they got a minute with Stephanie McMahon? They said, I have this dream, whatever it is. I want to be an actor, an actress. I want to start my own business. My dream's to be a mom of 3 little girls. Whatever that dream is, what would you say to those ladies that are listening to you now?
So I'd say turn your dream into a goal. And first and foremost, because goals you can achieve. It's just the way you think about it, the way you formulate it. If you turn it into a goal, then you can develop your plan and your strategy to get there, to achieve it. You have a goal, make it happen, right? How are you going to make it happen? I would also say to them to believe in yourself. You know, confidence is, I think I've heard this quote that confidence is like 90% of the journey. If you have the confidence to get there, you know, and then the skills on top of that. But confidence is huge. Also, passion is so important. You know, do what you love. Believe in it with everything you are and make it happen. You know, because if you don't, it might not happen. You know, you've got to bring your whole self and then some. You know, I think that those are really, you know, those are really the building blocks. And believe in yourself. Know that you belong. You belong anywhere you want to be. You belong in the room. I don't care who it is. I was in, you know, I've been trying to build the WWE brand. Not that it hasn't been built on its own, but that's my job, right? And I was at the Mcmahon conference a year ago. And I had the opportunity to be a part of a private conversation with many different commissioners of the sports leagues. Okay. Now this was a male-dominated room. I mean, it was all guys, except for some of their wives, right, who were sitting on the sideline. And originally, when I came in, I was seated at a table with, you know, some of the wives who were wonderful. But we were having this conversation. I said, "Excuse me, I'm going to go to that table." So I went to the bigger table, and you know what? It's my job to have a seat at that table. It's my job to speak up, and that's exactly what I did. So when the time was right, and it made sense, I didn't speak just to speak, you know, I had the opportunity to say, so, you know, I'm sorry to interject, we were talking about fan engagement, which is what I believe WWE does best, and something I believe very much in. And I said, so guys, I just want to say, in terms of WWE, I'm Chief Brand Officer. You know, we have the #1 sports channel on YouTube. We're the 2nd most viewed YouTube channel in the world. You know, we're in 180 countries. So like I rattled off all our stats, and I said, and I'm not giving you these statistics to be competitive. I'm telling you them so you know why I belong in the room and why what I say is going to matter. And then I explained, you know, what it was. And you know, it was really interesting, and I won't get into the sidebar conversations I had after. Some appreciated my comments, some did not. It was this woman from the WWE, you know, but there were a lot of really very positive things that came out of that that are still coming out of that. So the point is, have a seat at the table. You know, you have to do it. Stand up for yourself. You know, say what you believe, say what you feel, have a voice. You know, it's so important to have a voice.
Are you guys getting this? Are you kidding me? Like, you see my camera guys, like
the reason it's real, I love congruency. So someone says something that they are and that they embody and that they do. So I look at you and you're talking about not just have a dream, have a plan. Clearly you're constantly executing plans, right? And this confidence thing earlier in the interview, I just want to add to something you said. One of the things that I get out of my fitness is, essentially what you said was, I'm building myself up. I'm keeping a promise I make to myself. I really believe self-confidence is built through keeping the promises you make to yourself. That's how you build it, right? And then you talking about the fact of having that passion, giving all of you to something. It is obvious to me that you don't like WWE. You love and live it, right? It's like it's part of who you are, literally. So there's this passion level that it actually is infectious. I'm already a fan, but I love the company more. Like I have an appreciation for the nuance of the company more now, the ancillary things about it. And then, like, you clearly belong at the table. The question is whether or not I belonged at the table today, not whether you did. No, but seriously, I want everyone to have heard that. It's one of these parts of the interviews, everybody, where if you're driving, you go, I'm going to come back and play that part again. Everything that you just said right there was so spot on. And so a couple things about you. I'm just curious about myself.
Okay.
Because like you're this like driven, successful, you seem to have it all together. Do you get down?
Oh, yeah.
And like, would you be willing to share with me a moment where you were down?
Oh, so it happens all the time, actually.
Can you give us one, and how do you turn it around when you do get there?
Sometimes, I don't know. I actually am not sure if I don't have a mild form of depression sometimes, though I can't say that I have symptoms to the level of that I've read about, that I've seen people, so I wouldn't classify myself like that, but I potentially could. Sometimes I get really down, and I really struggle, and I don't feel like doing anything, and I want to be a recluse, and I want to climb into one little corner of my room, but I don't let myself do it. And this is why I say I don't think I'm clinical, because I am able to kick out of it myself, but it takes time sometimes, and I keep it inside. I don't talk about it, and that also is not good, because then it can feed and fester in on itself. And I find when I do finally tell my husband, he can't relate to what I'm feeling, but he gives me great advice, and he helps pick me up. But it still is something I have to ride out. And I can't explain it. I've never gotten help before, and maybe I should. But I think that nobody is ever black or white. We are all conundrums of all different things, and I can be so positive and so confident on one hand and not on the other. And I just think that that's a part of human nature too.
Thank you for sharing that.
I've never publicly spoken about that.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Thank you for sharing that. Can I say something to you?
Yeah.
Just to be interesting for you to know, me too.
Yeah?
Yeah. And it's interesting when people look at someone like you and I, our lives, I almost feel guilty when I have it sometimes.
Me too, because who am I to feel this way,
me too.
right?
I think, my gosh, and then I think, boy, what if life wasn't as good? Where would I really,
Right.
It's not the conditions of your life that typically create these mental states, but I just want you to know I really value you saying that, and really can people relate to that, and I just want you to know that I can. I have it too.
And how do you come out of it?
I write it out sometimes.
Yeah.
For me, one of the things I do, I'm glad you asked, one of the things I do, I've wondered, am I clinical sometimes? I have friends that I think that are, I see, it's almost like compared to what?
Right.
And maybe that's not even healthy, right? You think, well, even alcoholic says, well, I go to work every day, so I'm not one. That doesn't mean you're not an alcoholic. And because you and I eventually pull out of it, I do have two things that work for me pretty well. One is and it sounds cheesy, but I actually do force myself to go through a gratitude exercise. And it sounds corny. Sometimes it doesn't work, but often it does. I just literally begin to flood in my brain and my mind the pictures of the people and things that I'm grateful for, and the people who love me and that I love back. And I do it. What I do now is I inoculate it from coming. Just to give you one tip. So every morning, I have this on my podcast, and it's not to make you all watch it, it's just to tell you, I actually do it every morning. I do through a gratitude exercise, and I do it at night, and it kind of wards it off more often than before, because I don't know that I know how to get out of it when I'm in it until I ride it out. So I try to do things that keep it away from me as much as possible.
So two things on that. One is I have some very good friends who are studying mental mapping and neurology, and now I'm not a scientist. I don't even know enough to be dangerous, but I do know that you reinforce the mapping of your brain with whatever you do, right? So that gratitude exercise is reinforcing and actually sometimes remapping your brain to be more positive.
That's correct. It actually makes you more aware. There's a part of the front of your brain.
Oh, see, I don't even know the details.
There's a part of your brain called the reticular activating system. We won't get corny here today, but this is just for me and you.
It's not corny, it's
for me and
science.
you. What it is, it's a filter. And so what it does is it filters out all the things that aren't important to you so that you're sane. So you don't feel the blood in your left ear or whatever. It's a survival mechanism built into humans.
What's it called?
The reticular activating system, RAS. Okay. I'll give you some info on it. I'm actually writing about it right now. But what it does is if you're cognizant of things, it will filter those things in. So that's why, like when you bought a new car, all of a sudden you see that car all over the road.
Right.
It was always there. Prior, you filtered it out because it wasn't important to you. So if in the morning you do things where you get in a state of focusing on what you're grateful for, the RAS flips on, and throughout the day it's identifying and noticing things.
Wow,
it changes
that's
the
beautiful.
light. It changes the life filter.
That's beautiful.
It changes your life filter.
I usually
literally
do it at night.
And you do it in the evening, and I do them both now because it could get so severe with me.
But to what you just laid out,
'cause at
the
night
importance of doing it in the morning, I'm just not,
Yeah.
I can't function very well
Right.
in the morning. My
You gotta-
daughter wakes me up and I'm like,
You got to take
in
the
a
5
fog.
minutes at some point, though, because it opens your awareness and
But
it
you know
filters in
what?
these
It
things.
does actually happen inadvertently because I drive them to school.
Okay.
And I'm so grateful in those moments, driving them to school, just the things that they say or watching them. You know, Murphy, my 9-year-old now, she was looking out the window one day and it was a really drab northeast like winter day. And it was gray and there were no leaves on the trees and it was raining, you know, that cold rain that kind of gets in your bones. And she was just looking out the window and I said, Murph, you know, what are you looking at? And she said, Mama, isn't it just a beautiful day? And I was like, yes, it is a beautiful day, baby. Life is all perspective,
it's
right?
so true.
It's all perspective.
Yeah.
And that I was so grateful for that moment. And every day I drop them off. I bring my littlest into school because I still can because she's at the lower school. I've got one more year I'm able to do it.
Max that out.
And that's, we call it the kiss shake that she invented. She kisses my nose and I kiss her nose and we go through this whole series, right? But so in a way, and then I actually, when I walk out of that school, I breathe so deep. And I am just so grateful. You know, so I'm not doing it intentionally, but I'm doing it.
And I bet you those are the days, if we tracked it, when you get the gift of doing that, those are the days where it stays away. So maybe you can give yourself that. And then the other one, and you do it, is the other way that you move is moving your body. You change your physical state.
Oh, it's so important.
Because depression is actually, and just downness is a thing you do. It's a move. It's your breathing. It's how you, so when you change your physicality, it's very hard to be depressed when you're breathing deep. Because that's deep breathing and chest back is laughter, it's ecstasy, it's orgasm, it's all those things. Literally, it's hard to get depressed in those moments. So if you can create that state, it's true though. You get in that state in your body when you're training and working out. It's hard to be depressed.
I have never been depressed in that moment.
That's what I'm saying,
I can
right?
absolutely concur.
I want everyone to be able to get more of WWE and more of you. And so is there any platform out there that we want them to go look at specifically to find the company? Is there one or many that we want to make sure they know about?
Yeah, but I don't want to make it promotional.
You can 100% do that. They want to know. By this point, and everything you've shared and how honest you've been and how transparent you've been, you've opened your soul up to them. And so they want to engage, I promise you. I know them. They want to engage more with you. They want to be able to find you. So please tell them where to find you.
Okay, so, well, you know, our flagship programming is 3 hours on Monday night from 8 to 11 on USA Network, and then 8 to 10 p.m. is SmackDown Live, and that's also on USA Network on Tuesday. So live Monday, live Tuesday. Of course, the WWE Network, which is $9.99 a month. Currently, it's just one price model. For all of what were our pay-per-view events, now are available on that platform, as well as a ton of libraries. We just launched this new show called Hidden Gems, which is these matches that people have heard of but haven't ever seen.
Like vintage matches?
Yeah, because we own most of the libraries, at least domestically. So that's a really interesting new show. The lore of these matches now people can actually see.
Wonderful.
So it's pretty awesome. And then, of course, social media, Twitter, Instagram, etc. But
I hope today that you all saw a side, I know you did, of Stephanie and the company that you didn't know about, and that you love it more, and you love her more, and you're inspired, and then also that you picked up a bunch of tools that you can use and strategies